Welcome to tonight's meeting. My name is Councillor Callum Nimmo, and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. And if I lose connection, Councillor Borakwan will take over from me. So before we begin, there are some housekeeping points to cover. Firstly, the meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, and by taking part, you are consenting to being recorded. Please can officers introduce themselves before speaking for the first time, and would everyone please use their microphones. So let's proceed to the agenda. Item 1, which is apologies for absence, of which we have done. Item 2 is declarations of interest. So do any members have declarations of interests?
No, Chair.
No. Perfect, thank you very much. Now moving to item number 3, which is consideration of the White Horse 1 to 3 Parsons Green Lane, London SW6 4UL. So I'd like to ask everyone participating to introduce yourself as I call on you. So first of all, we should have with us Andy Grimsey, who's the agent for the applicant.
That's correct, Chair. Andy Grimsey, solicitor for Mitchells and Butlers Leisure Retail Limited.
Thank you very much. We should have Jeremy Cook, who's the retail business manager, who is observing.
That's correct, Chair. I'm the area manager for the White Horse.
Lovely, thank you very much. We should have Emma Thomas, who's the security and licensing manager, who is also observing.
Yes, correct, for Mitchells and Butlers.
Thank you. And Matt Henwood from DPS, who's observing.
Yeah, that's correct. Matthew Henwood from the White Horse.
Thank you very much. Mick Hill, the building development manager.
Hi, I'm Mick Hill. I have responsibility for the building element of the project.
Thank you very much. We should have Ian Reilly, who's the head of building development, who's observing.
Yeah, hello, good evening, Chair. I'm here and can hear and see everything clearly.
Tremendous, thank you. And we also have with us Neil Gardiner, who's the interim licensing officer.
Good evening, Chair, present.
Thank you, Neil. And also Emmanuel Amposa, who's the council's legal officer.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. And objecting, we have Charlotte Dexter, who's speaking on behalf of the Berkeley Road Residents Association, and who is also speaking on behalf of Sarah Chambers, who is representing the Walham Green Ward panel. Charlotte, are you present?
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Charlotte. So before we consider the application today, may I confirm that in addition to the main agenda, supplementary agenda A and B were published on the 8th and the 10th of December, respectively. So I'll quickly explain the procedure that the committee will follow. So we will hear from the following. So first of all, the licensing officer will introduce the application. Then we'll hear from the objector. Finally, the applicant. So usually each party will address the committee for a maximum of 5 minutes. And following the presentation by all parties, the committee may ask questions of any party or any other person present at the hearing. Except committee members, no party has the right to ask questions of any other party at any time during the meeting. And following the presentation and the questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their case or the representation. The committee will then retire for deliberations, and upon its return, I will announce the committee's decision. So to kick things off, can I ask Neil Gardiner, who is the interim licensing officer, to introduce the application?
Thank you, Chair. On the 22nd of October 25, the Licensing Authority received an application for a new premise licence in respect of the White Horse, Parsons Green, London, SW6 4UL, submitted by Poppleton Allen Solicitors for Mitchells and Butlers Leisure Limited. Current premise licence can be seen at Appendix 1, which is page 19 of your agenda bundle. The application for a second new premise licence can be seen at Appendix 2, page 26. Following discussions with the police, the applicant agreed to adopt a revised set of conditions seen at Appendix 3, page 44. The applicant's solicitor has provided a further bundle, information bundle, seen as supplementary agenda item A, pages 3 to 24. Originally, the Licensing Authority received 3 representations seen at Appendix 4 and 5, pages 49 to 58, including one from the noise team. However, this has now been withdrawn and can be seen as supplementary agenda item B, page 3. A further representation from Berkeley Road Residents Association can be seen as supplementary agenda item B, page 5. At 4.1 of the report, the enforcement table details the 7th of September 24 incident. This in fact should read 9th of September 23. A corrected table can be seen as supplementary agenda item B, page 9. The applicant's solicitor's comments on the enforcement table can be seen as supplementary agenda item B, page 10. In determining this application, the subcommittee must have regard to the representations and take such of the following steps as it considers necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives. Chair, the steps available to you tonight are to grant the application in full, grant the application in part, modifying the proposed hours, activities or conditions, or to reject the application, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. So moving on to the objector. So Charlotte Dexter is who, remind you, is speaking on behalf of Berkeley Road Residents Association, and also Sarah Chambers from the Walham Green Ward panel. So Charlotte, you have up to 10 minutes to address the committee. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Good evening. Right, so I'm speaking on behalf of my road. We're all fans of the White Horse, and also Sarah Chambers, who's the police community volunteer chair of our ward panel. We meet quarterly with the police, and we work on licensing, planning, and other matters that relate to local policing, crime stats, and so on. So, as usual, I'm sure that our committee members have done a bit of work on this application for a very important and beautiful part of our borough and of Fulham itself. The famous and ancient Parsons Green, a piece of common land. We have two pieces of common land in Fulham, Parsons Green and Eelbrook Common, and the daffodil wedges that go between the two commons there. So we're very concerned always about anything that's going on near or at, and almost on top of, in this case, our common land. I'm sure that the committee members have seen in public information that the entry and exit of people coming to and from Parsons Green, specifically through the TfL Parsons Green tube, equal a phenomenal number of 5.8 million people per year. That means we have 483 people entering and exiting just down the road from this pub per month. That's 16,000 people a day. I was almost run over by a car at Parsons Green a few months ago, and I've been going to physical therapy above the little Waitrose, and I've taken to going there early to count people as you look down on the White Horse, and within 5 minutes, anywhere between 50 to 80 people are walking by the White Horse. That's at 8:30 in the morning or at 12:30. It's pretty consistent, I've found, through the day. So we have people in and out of the tube, millions of them. And we have, God knows, someone has the footfall figures, probably the pub itself has them. But there are a lot of people moving to and fro on foot and on bicycle through this area, although it seems very calm, and it seems very residential, but it's very, 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 very busy all the time. And that's really what our concern is tonight. As I said, everybody loves the White Horse, and we appreciate that it's well run. But we're very concerned about a bar on their garden area, which happens to be by ancient right somewhere, the pavement as well, so to say. The outer part towards the road is the actual pavement, but it looks like the pavement. And so we're concerned that the sale of alcohol is remaining inside, but it's also moving outside. Of course, you can order stuff outside, and we don't want to get into that. The point is that a bar suddenly is going to be there where people can stand, people can crowd, people can congregate, and we're not convinced that enough care can be even taken on very busy nights and during days and so on. So anyway, I went down to this wonderful pub and I spoke with Jeremy and Matt and others, and we walked around and they showed me, what they're going to do and so on. So I did do a site visit. I'm sure that our counselors did some kind of incognito site visit. Maybe you were there even this weekend as I was. Yeah, so when you look on the plan and you see how small this area is and how people can start queuing up to order drinks and so on. I mean, it could be a few people, it could be scores of people, it could suddenly be hundreds of people. And I to be honest, I think this is just something that the police didn't think about. They just didn't look at it that way, or I don't know, I can't second guess the police, but at least residents are concerned about this. And when I met with Jeremy and Matt and the others, they did divulge that they had a lot of pickpocketing problems and a lot of, other kinds of problems. And when they brought in Matt 2 years ago, he made it his priority to, lessen these problems. And although they don't have conditions on the license, they do bring in a team of SIA people on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. And they seem to have, they have reduced the amount of problems by an amazing 90%, they mentioned to me. So there's admission that there are problems there. And that's one of the reasons that I put in supplemental B, pages 5 and 6. Some of you will know Johnny Ferrugia, great sergeant. He's been around a long time. He knows our area very, very well from the Metropolitan Police. And, we had these problems just on December 1st. This was targeted, in other words, premeditated break-ins, one could say, or one should say, along with a break-in in a car and so on. So my point there in giving you this public information in Supplemental B is that this is happening here. There are people planning on things around Parsons Green. They're planning to do things on these parades of shops. And because of this, about 5 or 6 years ago, a shop watch, not a pub watch, a shop watch was started by Alison Rogers, who owns Alison Rogers Design on New Kings Road. And it's taken a long road for them to become quite effective. And Ferrugia is very much behind this and so on. So my real point is, right there on Parsons Green, after midnight, this happened on the 1st of December. Now, this is the kind of stuff that's public information. Other things are in crime reports and so on that you'll have seen, I hope, somewhere. We're just very concerned that this could become an overwhelming situation sometimes. And you might not be in the position to suddenly call in, you can't call in SIA guys suddenly at 9 o'clock at night or suddenly at 10 o'clock at night. It doesn't work that way. It's hard to describe really, why I'm doing my best. I can't seem to get across to Mitchell and Butlers that this is increasing crime probabilities. This is increasing nuisance probabilities. Yes, the environment people kind of decided that, okay, it won't increase them.
Charlie, I've got 1 minute left.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, on Sarah's side, She met with them today. She couldn't attend tonight because she's at a police meeting tonight, but she asked them specifically to think again, about the fact that Lady Margaret's is one door down, 780 children. Why do they have to have this outdoor bar open during the day on school days? Can't they limit it until, after 4 or 5 in the afternoon? I mean, these are kind of cries from the community that we wish would be heard. We've put in some evidence. We've done what we can. We have millions of people literally passing by this pub. It's not a small place. It's a very successful place. Yes, they have gardens all over the place, but I don't think they have a garden at the front at this space on a pavement, i.e. at the pavement, let me say, legally speaking. So we would ask that the councillors really think this through from a licensing, from a crime perspective, and from a nuisance perspective, and from a residence perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for your representation. So now I would like to turn to the applicant. Yeah, you have 10 minutes to address the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the subcommittee. And can I firstly thank Charlotte and Sarah in her absence for their engagement with us. It's always incredibly important in licensing that operators of licensed premises have the opportunity to speak to people who care and know about the area. And whilst we may not agree on everything, it's been incredibly enlightening for us and helpful that Charlotte has been able to come down and speak to us. And we've had email correspondence, and that's always extremely important. And the same with Sarah as well. You will have seen our submissions document at page 3 of Agenda Supplement A, and I obviously don't have time, and the reason it was drafted in some detail was that you had the full picture as far as we could present it in the light of everything we've done. But what I'd like to do for at least 5 minutes is just go through the main points of this application and that document. This is a new application, but to all intents and purposes, from a licensing perspective, it's the outside bar, I think, as Charlotte has probably pointed out herself, that is the issue. We want an outside bar because we think it makes commercial sense to us, but it also will ease congestion on the inside bar. It will reduce crowding, potential conflict, people coming in and out, waiting at one bar when they in busy times there may be 2, and sunny times there may be 2. It will enhance supervision of the outside area, not least through the bar staff who will be there. If you grant the application, will come at no insignificant expense to us. And I'm sure, looking at the visuals that we provided at pages 21 to 23 of supplementary agenda, you'll see it looks very nice. We do things well, and we do external bars well, and we want it to look very much in sympathy and keeping with the rest of the beautiful area. And just on that point, something that you may not be aware of, there is screening at the back of the bar, which will provide a sort of blocked as people are passing by from seeing everything that would be going on in the bar, if you see what I mean, which is not something that was in our submissions. The area will be covered by CCTV, 3 over the garden area itself and 1 on the external bar. At times there will be door staff at busy periods. There will be bar staff and glass collectors in this area. We are going to have Chelsea clips and signage warning of potential pickpockets and thieves around, obviously not wanting to cause unnecessary alarm. The bar isn't facing the street. We are not in any way suggesting there will be off sales for people to take drinks away with them from that bar. That's not the point at all. We do understand the residents' concerns. This is a new thing, but we believe that having the bar there will actually reduce the potential. We are talking really about business as usual, but just aiding more of a flow to our customers, many of whom are our local residents. In our pre-application engagement. As you know, we spoke with the police, environmental health, and the licensing authority. We are flexible. We were thinking about increasing the internal hours till 1 a.m. and decided not to because that was met with some concern. So we dropped that. We have had engagement with ward councillors, with the events team, with the residents that the licensing authority very kindly forwarded our emails onto. So we listen. And the reason I'm reminding you of these things is because a lot of Charlotte's concerns are things that you can't really put into a binary category. They're not black or white. They're things that require a little bit of trust in an operator to say, we will do this, and if there are any issues, we will react. We will react quickly, promptly, professionally, and decisively. And very much heart of the community at the White Horse. And we're so grateful that we have so many fans, even in the objectives. But if you look at pages 13 to 17 of Supplementary Agenda A, you will see we have agreed 30 bespoke conditions with the police, which have been supported by Christopher Sibander, the Environmental Health Officer. They deal with crime and crowding. They deal with noise and nuisance as far as is reasonably practicable from a licensed operator to go. And the same at pages 8 to 20. 18 to 20, I can't read my own writing, the external drinking management plan and the dispersal plan. There are 14 bespoke points in the external drinking management plan and another 13 points for the dispersal plan. Now, these are all things which may change depending on how things pan out, but they have been planned through consultation and through knowing what already happens in our outside area. And obviously, we already have sometimes quite a lot of people out there, and that's not going to change. We know how to deal with them. We've already run external bars across the country, 10 in the Castle brand, mostly in London. So we do understand how these work to a large degree. We've kept key conditions from the existing license: no music in the garden of any way, shape or form, inaudibility at residential boundary premises. So we, from a responsible operator point of view, have already proven, I would suggest, that we can be trusted to do this, and that we are flexible enough and attentive enough, and we're prepared to listen, as shown by our pre-application engagement, if there are any issues. And if you look at the list of official complaints that are in the agenda papers, they are really historical complaints. But I think the point I would make is that they were dealt with promptly. We reacted, and Matt has been at the premises for some time now. He's a great DPS, and he will continue to react with the help of Jeremy to any issues that might arise. That is why you're experts on crime, the police, and that is why you're experts on noise nuisance, the Environmental Health Officer, are comfortable with the application. We do understand Charlotte and Sarah's concerns, and we're concerned about this crime that Charlotte has pointed to and has referred to in her supplementary evidence. Clearly, nobody's suggesting that that's anything to do with the White Horse, but I would suggest that having an outside bar that sometimes has door staff, has bar staff, at a busy pub, it has a deterrent effect on certainly that type of crime, and is not necessarily something to be sort of cast aside. As to the issue raised regarding the school, we do have children with their parents at the pub. We are confident enough to book the upstairs out for functions, for children's parties sometimes. This is an important thing for the pub being part of the community. And again, we are sympathetic to concerns. I note that as far as we're aware, the school themselves haven't raised any objection with us, but I don't want to disparage anybody in that respect. But we are sympathetic to concerns, but we have to deal with what's presented to us, and we are flexible enough to and attentive enough to listen to any concerns that are raised in the future. Finally, Chair, because you may well have questions of the team, I hope we have shown that we are good neighbours historically and in terms of our engagement in this application itself. Licensing, particularly such a lovely pub like this, it is so much about trust. Mitchells and Butlers is a very large, very respected operator. The team at the White Horse know what they're doing. It is essentially business as usual with an external bar. I don't think the world is going to fall in. Heaven forbid if it did. There are measures that the residents can take by way of review. I don't believe for 1 second it will ever come to that. But most importantly, the conditions that have been agreed and the plans and policies that we have in place, I would submit, are perfectly proportionate to the application being made and promote the licensing objectives. That is all I have to say at the moment, but obviously all the team are here to answer any questions you may have, Chair, or members of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your representation. So I'll now turn to committee questions. So can I ask each member of the committee to ask questions of any party about the application and issues that have been raised at the meeting in relation to the 4 licensing objectives, which, just to remind us, are number 1, the prevention of crime and disorder, number 2, public safety, number 3, the prevention of public nuisance, and number 4, the protection of children from harm. So I see Councillor Stanton has his hand up.
There we go. I'm now unmuted. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everybody. I have a few questions, not many. Just to the applicant, just so I can understand properly, am I right that the premises own all of the land between the pub and the furthest extent of the gardened area?
That is my understanding. If one of my colleagues jumps in to contradict that, feel free, but that is my understanding. Yes, Councillor.
Yeah, because it is off. I mean, I know the area. I have frequented the White Horse on occasion myself. That area is often used, and I would imagine that members of the public probably think, incorrectly or otherwise, that it's kind of pavement rather than pub. Yeah, and I was wondering, has any thought, well, this is a couple of questions really, has any thought been given to kind of walling that off more, or is it accepted that it's effectively kind of a public, not right of way, but it's actually a benefit to people that they can walk through there?
Let me, I just want to clarify, do you mean immediately outside the pub?
I do. I mean,
Yeah.
on the Parsons Green side, between, if you come out to the pub, you've then got, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 paces, and then you get the walled area.
Yeah,
if I can call it that. And that bit is and I use the word not in any legal sense, a thoroughfare between, my brain's escaping the names of the roads, but for walking in front of the pub, basically, instead of walking around, people walk through.
Yeah. I think obviously as the application is presented, the plans, if you look closely, there is a slight change to the current position. As you might imagine, they were trying to make it look prettier. It again is one of those things. We don't anticipate a huge amount of additional numbers of people or anything like that. It's more something that we are going to monitor and see. If signage is required, we'll adapt to that. But yeah, there's no. I take the point, but
yeah, it wasn't, just to be clear, it wasn't a point. It was a question. No, that's fine. I just want to make sure that's clear. Because on the question of numbers, it occurs to me, maybe you could clarify this, or one of the team could clarify this, that by putting in a bar in what is currently a seating area, you are in effect reducing the number of covers that you can service in that walled area.
I wonder whether my one of my colleagues wants to just answer that on a bit more practical level.
Sorry, I can answer that. So we are taking some tables outside from the area where the bar is going to hopefully go, but we are also gaining some seating around the external of the bar inside the garden. So there'll be some stalls around the end of one end of the bar inside of the garden, and we're also making better use of some space around a second tree that's in the garden. So we're not anticipating, we're not doing this to increase the volume of the garden. But yes, the bar will take out an existing table and chairs, but I think that's compensated for by some stalls around the front of the bar. So overall, we are not doing this to increase volume of the garden. I hope that answers the question.
I mean, to be honest, on the contrary, it was seeming to me that you were actually reducing the capacity rather than increasing it, and I was just, trying to see if that was correct. Okay, I'm looking now at the supplemental B, and it's the visuals, in particular on page. It says page 21 of 22. I think it's actually page 23 of the bundle. And Mr. Grimsey, you mentioned barriers. Looking at that top visual, it appears that it will be quite easy for somebody walking past to literally reach round into the bar area. So my question, A, is this an accurate representation of how that will be? And if it is, what consideration has been given to that? I mean, I don't know what the bar outside will be serving, whether it's all on tap or whether there'll be bottles, etc. But it does seem that there's very little in the way of a barrier, literally between the pavement and someone with a long arm.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And Jeremy, do you want to answer that one as well?
Yeah, so what we're not putting in or proposing is a bar with a big back bar structure, which I think, to your point, someone could potentially reach round and take something from. So the way that we've designed the bar, it's very much a lower down set of fridges, which would almost be up against the kind of backing onto the pavement. And then on the front bar, there would be some beer taps, but they are all very low down. So they're not big beer fonts that you would see inside. They're almost taps at lower level. Any spirits that we are proposing to have outside would be on speed rails at the front of the bar, so that actually they are would have the bar team behind them. So yes, I take your point. On looking at that, you'd think someone would be able to put their arm around, but we very purposefully designed it so that it is all very contained and on the front bar where we would have bar staff.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, again, another thought that occurred to me would be, and I'm sure it's not what is intended, is people trying to queue and attract bar staff's attention from the other side of the wall, because again, the wall's only is knee high, and on a busy warm summer's day, you could quite easily see someone trying to actually kind of shout over the fence and get a drink from outside of the licensed area and outside of the pubs area.
Yeah, that's absolutely that. I believe Mick is what
if it helps to add some additional context, Councillor Stanton, it's a 500mm high screen sat on top of a wall that's approximately 1 meter in height. So from the floor level to the top of that screen is about 1.5 meters, and it's an opaque screen. So in terms of members of the public being able to see into the bar or reach over, that in itself will be quite difficult.
I see the screen. Again, it all depends. I know what these visuals are like. Sometimes you look at them on a piece of paper, then you go and see the actual thing. Like, oh, okay, now I understand. That's what they meant.
Yeah.
Okay, but here, specifically the angle that I'm looking at here, and again, I'm looking at the top picture on page 23. There is I appreciate that if you're stood behind the bar, right, perpendicular to the bar, yeah, you couldn't see in. But if you moved, I don't know, a foot to the right, there's a diagonal line straight into it, and effectively straight onto the edge of the bar. People are going to be banging on the bar saying, "Oi, can I get a drink, please?"
Well, that is part of our external management plan. We are not going to be allowing that to happen. And so far as it is legally permissible, this is how we've carefully drafted these conditions. We are absolutely committed to not allowing that to happen for the reasons that we're all aware of. Yeah. So that's the
okay. Thank you. Yeah. I don't think. I would say, Charlotte, a quick question for you. Given that garden area has been there for quite some time, and the pickpocketing, etc., that has happened, presumably hasn't been affected by the fact there has or has not been a bar there, but there are, individuals, customers of the pub, who are still going to be there. What is it about the placement of the bar in that vicinity that is being objected to, rather than kind of just general volume of people?
Yeah, so I can answer that very specifically and in two parts, if I may, and I'll explain the if I may in a second. The bar, as you see, is on that is called Parsons Green Lane, that long road that goes up to Fulham Road. That's Parsons Green Lane. And once you get into the irregular triangle of Parsons Green, the address is actually Parsons Green. So the address of the White Horse Pub is 1 to 3 Parsons Green. Just so that's clear, because you asked about that before, what the name of the road was. So anything around, Lady Margaret's is 5 or 6 Parsons Green. Okay, so right. So this bar, the back side of it, so to say, the side that people can look into it, is at the Parsons Green side, Parsons Green Lane side, the main road side. Yeah. So no, we just envision that it's a great idea. So you come in and you get a table, and then somebody goes up, or a couple of people go up at a time, usually buddy system, right? And you stand there and you're waiting, not on the Parsons Green Lane side, sort of on this inside, as you can see, on the inside. And there's not a lot of space there. I mean, you're going to have crowding immediately. I personally don't understand how they're going to really manage it unless they hire more SIA people, at least on Thursday, Friday, and Thursday.
Can I stop you for 1 second there, Charlotte, just so we can clarify this point? Okay. Yeah. I believe, and perhaps the team could confirm this to me, and this is what I was asking about before, is that the only way where you could get service to the bar, because of the construction of it and the nature of the barriers, is from within the garden walled area.
Yes, correct. Oh, sorry. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So there couldn't be queuing outside. Is that correct?
No.
This is to the team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Charlotte. And again, yeah.
Okay, fine. In which case, Charlotte, please continue.
I believe there will be queuing because the bar is here. Parsons Green Lane is there. The building is here. And the ability to kind of queue is sort of how you enter that whole area. That's it. It's kind of,
Okay.
Not enough space for the whole thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
Could I take time to read to you the following from the planning permission that just went live again after 5 days, that says that all of that screening must be clear glass. That's what I want to get across to you. I can read the one sentence if you like.
No, that's fine.
Okay, but it's clear glass. It's not going to be anything but clear glass.
Okay.
That's new information as of 2 hours ago.
But there is glass. That's the important thing. Okay, fine. Thank you. No, you've been helpful. That's been very helpful. Okay. Chair, I think that's it for me for now. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stanton. Councillor Kwan, I see you've got your hand up. Thank you.
My question, I think, is to the sort of operations, sort of management. with this outside bar, will you be able to take different types of bookings and sort of groups compared to who you take now? So, for example, if you haven't been able to previously, would that area, could it be sort of block booked for birthday party, wedding, reception, that kind of, I know it's quite small, but I guess I'm interested in seeing what difference the sort of your clientele or bookings will be that might be of some nuisance to the residents if the noise or the kind of foot traffic is increased, particularly when the weather's good.
Okay, yes, thanks for the question. We're not planning on taking any different kind of bookings outside of the garden. It's already a popular garden for group bookings. Currently, we have a sort of an area at the opposite end of the garden, which lends itself to kind of larger groups. So in terms of what we're expecting or what we're targeting, we're definitely not targeting different styles or types. So in terms of impact on residents and noise levels, we already operate that garden up until midnight at the moment, and we have none or very minimal from a long period of time ago noise complaints. So I think that if you're asking whether we're expecting anything different or targeting that, no, we are not.
Yeah, and I note that obviously the few complaints you've had previously, the issues have been where people have sort of spilled over into the pathway and so on. So my question was also related to if you have the bigger bookings, or if you market it as a sort of like that kind of a venue, I imagine that problem would get worse. And how would you deal with that?
So when that came up, was very kind of early on in my tenure as area manager, and especially as Matthew as general manager. Previously, drinking had been allowed around on the perimeter of the wall of the garden, and that would be on Parsons Green Lane, as Charlotte has pointed out, and then along Parsons Green. Because the pub is incredibly popular, the amount of people drinking on that side of the wall was growing, and therefore the potential for blockages was growing too. So in response, and you'll see that from on the kind of complaints log, and that was back in the start of 2023. We changed the way we operate. So now we don't have people drinking around the perimeter of the wall, which is the pavement of Parsons Green Lane and Parsons Green, and we keep people within the garden and to the far side of the pub to allow to keep that pavement clear. And actually, for the last 2 years, we haven't had any complaints about blockages of that road. So I think the way we operate it and how we responded to that was really successful. And then the introduction of the bar, because it is internally facing and we are not proposing to allow people to drink on the other side of the wall or on the street, we're not changing the way we operate. We will not have any issues or of blocking that pavement. In addition to that, we already monitor outside through our door team at peak and through glass collectors and management presence outside, and that will continue.
And then if there were sort of kind of special summer events, I'm thinking of like sporting events, tennis, that kind of stuff. Even if you don't have a screen outside, that can often attract sort of the bigger groups and so on. Do you have any plans to sort of market sort of those events and sort of that kind of thing, or is that not really the kind of event that the pub holds?
No, we don't have, sport isn't a big part of what we do. We don't have a Sky Sports license. We don't have screens outside. So the biggest impact we have from sport is when the polo festival happens and the whole of the Parsons Green area is incredibly busy. And I think we've managed that exceedingly well, I would like to think, and safely. But in terms of us promoting sport outside, that is not part of our plan.
And if I may add, Councillor Kwan, there are 2 conditions already on the licence which are carrying over if this is granted, which are that the licensee shall ensure that no music or other noise associated with a licensable activity which emanates from the licensed premises is audible at or within the site boundary of any residential property, and no music will be played in or for the benefit of patrons in the external areas of the premises, which are pretty tight conditions, if I may say. So that helps a little bit, I hope.
Okay. No further questions from me at this moment, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kwan. Just, a quick one from me, because I think most of what I was thinking has been covered by the other councillors. But just a quick question, sort of in terms of when you're required to have SIA door staff at the moment, am I misunderstanding it to say that's currently only Chelsea matches?
I can add to that. So yeah, at the moment there is a condition to have door staff around Chelsea matches. I believe it's 3 hours before, 3 hours after. However, we do use SIA door staff because I think we're sensible operators, so we do have door staff at peak, and actually Matt has increased door staff at peak to help minimise any issues at the pub, and I think we've been successful in doing that. So at the moment, yes, the only condition we have is around Chelsea matches, but we choose to have door staff to make sure that we can honour the licensing objectives as best we can.
Okay, yeah, and how do you define peak? Is that sort of Saturday night, Friday night? Is that every Saturday, Friday night you tend to have door staff, or just when it might be particularly busy?
Because we are a busy pub, it does turn into every Friday and Saturday night. Sometimes we have door staff on Thursday nights, depending on how busy we think we're going to be. And yes, definitely around Chelsea matches. So that tends to be the peak: Fridays, Saturdays, and depending on the time of year, seasonality, Thursdays.
Because I guess, just so it's not sprung at you, but I suppose how amenable, maybe your agent wants to answer this, would you be to a condition that sort of formalizes these arrangements? Because obviously, as I understand you're responsible operators. However, with the addition of the outside pub, I also can understand Charlotte and Sarah's concerns about the added risk there. I wonder if it might be easier just to answer that now. Would you be amenable to a further condition to actually formalise those arrangements with door staff that it appears that you're doing anyway as a responsible operator, but it might just add a bit of extra reassurance for local residents as well?
Chair, perhaps I'll stick my neck in here and look like the bad person. From a legal perspective, yes, we want to reassure the residents, but what you have to decide is what is proportionate and targeted for this application. And I would respectfully suggest that we already show, with the deployment of door staff that we choose from our experience of our operation, that the condition we have agreed with the experts in crime, which is the police, is the appropriate and proportionate condition, which is a risk-assessed basis, and that is with no disrespect either to you or indeed the Charlotte or Sarah. But if we start talking about rigid conditions, it immediately takes the discretion from our hands, and it may not be the appropriate or proportionate thing to do. And if there are issues, then of course we will always listen to either residents or the police, or heaven forbid, if there was a review, we would be on it like a car bonnet, as they say. Sorry, that's me speaking legally. And I say it's no disrespect. Everybody wants to be reassured, but that would be, I think, our position on that.
Okay, well, thank you for that. It sounds, that's sort of answered that. Unless any of the other councillors have any questions, we can move to summing up. No, I don't see any further questions. So can I please ask the parties to sum up as briefly as possible in the following order? So firstly, Neil Gardiner, the Interim Licensing Officer.
Thank you, Chair. I've got nothing further to add.
Thank you, Neil. The objectors, so Charlotte Dexter, who is objecting on behalf of the Berkeley Road Residents Association and also on behalf of Sarah Chambers, you have up to 6 minutes to sum up your case. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I think the challenge for residents here is that it's great to have a responsible operator. We've seen situations where operators change and we suddenly have different situations with a license that continues, that only can be reviewed at some point, which usually takes about 2 years to get to that point, etc. So, you know, there's a lot of trust involved, as Andy Grimsley has said, in this license, which I'm all for, but that type of thing can go belly up very quickly, suddenly, all of a sudden, you know. We're not saying you're leaving tomorrow, but it has happened 3 times recently in this part of Fulham. So, you know, we do have problems with other pubs, and we've had problems because they change hands and so on. Unfortunately, not for the better. That's the point. So you can't assume what might happen, and you know that's the dilemma of the Licensing Act 2003. It's only about you now, and somehow we can't plan for the future. So that's unfortunate. I do want to reiterate that these screens, apparently planning-wise, have to be full glass. When I visited a few weeks ago, I was told that they would be sort of a ripple type of translucent type glass. So I was told the people running the bar outside there the goal was that they actually could look over over this rippled translucent, not transparent glass, which makes some sense. You know, they can kind of see people passing by, they can see their heads, they can see what's going on. Well, anyway, now they'll be able to see what's going on because apparently the glass has to be clear for whatever reason and whatever risks that takes on. I appreciate that Andy Grimsley, you know, doesn't want to associate crimes happening down at the other end of Parsons Green, but we have to look at the whole green as a whole area, and then the hundreds, well, really thousands of people that pass by the pub at night, and the problems that are there inherently there. I appreciate that you're doing a great job keeping them at bay, and that's really good. But the idea that you're not going to have further problems or increased problems outside is a bit beyond, I think, anybody's comprehension. I mean, so that's, you know, these hearings are very difficult because you can't really have a discussion, which you can do in other boroughs, by the way. So it's just kind of one throwing out things and the next one asking this. We can never ask questions, etc. So it makes it very difficult. I guess our hope is that you're around for a long time and you can keep things, improving things. But we're very concerned about this bar, and it doesn't make any sense to us. You know, people know to go into the White Horse. You walk inside on the left. There are no tables really, because you need that space for people to queue up for the bar, which is great for your business. And it would seem that you'd be in a better position to keep it that way. And of course, we can't say what will happen, but I can tell you what will happen. Aragon House and I was going to say Duke of Cumberland, the Duke will apply for an outside bar. So pretty soon we're going to have 3 outside bars, and we're going to have the build up and the traffic, the people traffic of those situations on all corners of Parsons Green. I mean, that's where we're heading, committee. And there must be ways within the Licensing Act to kind of put a bit of a damper on that versus just opening it up. And also, no one's spoken about the green itself. And we know that people spill out onto that green with their glasses in hand. I mean, come on, let's face it. We know this. When it gets super busy, you can have 8 SIA people out there. It's, you know, you have 3 or 4, you told me when I met with you. You know, nobody's monitoring the green. There's no money from the police. There's no money from the Let. It's not something that will be done on a regular basis on every Friday, Saturday night, every Thursday night, which is the new Friday night. It's not going to happen. So, you know, we're adding more costs to all the problems on the green and picking up litter and all the problems and people urinating on the green and so on. Believe me, all that's going to happen because of this bar. There's just no question about it. So, you know, I leave it to you. You have the power to figure out how to make this work for this pub and at the same time make this work so that it's not adding any risk or any cost to the council. That's the big challenge, in my opinion. And we haven't even talked about Lady Margaret's and 780 students and so on. This is a huge concern of our volunteer chair of our ward panel. She met with them today. She took time out of her day to go meet with them last minute because she couldn't come tonight. And I don't hear anybody saying, you know, anything about that, which is very unfortunate. You know, we make a big effort as residents, big effort, and we're very, very, very seldom heard. And it's very unfortunate, even with a great operator.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for summing up. And I lastly turn to the applicant to summarize. You have up to 6 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I've been involved solely in alcohol entertainment licensing for 20 years, and I can safely say, don't take this as evidence, but I know of no other operator who would put so much effort into working with the local residents as Mitchells and Butlers. And they do that for 2 reasons. One, because it's the right thing to do. And second, because it's the commercially sensible thing to do. It makes sense in every way, shape or form. And we do understand our neighbours' concerns, and Charlotte and Sarah are our neighbours. This is an incredibly popular pub. It's I imagine it's a very difficult operation to run sometimes. London pubs are. Popular London pubs are even harder. But the reality is, in terms of the real evidence in front of you, it has been run extremely well. And what we are asking now is for to be granted the right to have an outside bar to take the business forward. There is no direct specific evidence that can undermine that in terms of the evidential perspective. And secondly, I just need to take issue with Charlotte on her point about reviews. Reviews, as you know, take about eight weeks from the issue of the review. I appreciate gathering the evidence will take a bit longer, but we Mitchells and Butlers don't get involved with reviews, because if issues are raised, they will deal with them, as evidenced by the very complaints log that is in the agenda papers, albeit there are sort of scant complaints that have been raised. You will know the old adage from licensing that each application is taken on its merits. We can't really speculate about any future operators. That is something that licensing will deal with in due course. We're not going anywhere. This is a great pub. It's a great asset in the Mitchells and Butlers estate. And if this application is granted, it's going to be even greater. And also it's going to be great for the residents as well. Charlotte mentioned, I don't think she quite used the word floodgates, but there is case law on this, and I'm sure your legal advisor will mention it if needed, that you can't use the floodgates argument in a licensing application. Again, I can sympathise why the residents may be worried about that, but we come back to this each application on its merits. The 2 other pubs she mentioned, they will have to prove to you, if they are minded to apply for an outside bar, that they can convince you, as I hope we are able to convince you this evening. There is a great deal of money proposed to go into this project. We are not going to mess it up. Heaven forbid if we mess it up, there would be a license review, but that's not going to happen. We are sympathetic with the residents. We have worked with everybody, including the authorities. The authorities support it. We've got a detailed suite of conditions. We've got very detailed external management plans and dispersal policies, and we will amend those if and when we need to, in the light of any issues that are raised. And all the evidence suggests that that's the case. And that is the best you can ask for from a licensed operator, because the licensing objectives are not binary. They're not a council of perfection. They are aspirational. And we are aiming to promote those objectives as best we can. Nobody's saying there's never going to be another incident at the White Horse, obviously. But what a great operator to trust with this application. Chair, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us.
Thank you very much for that. So the committee will now retire to take its decision in a separate meeting room. You are welcome to remain in the meeting while to hear the committee's decision. However, this may take some time. If you don't want to wait, a summary decision will be published on the council's website tomorrow morning. So can I ask the councillors to mute the microphones and move to the separate meeting room for deliberation? Thank you. Okay, I think we have all members back. Okay, so the committee has decided the following. So in the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham, it's a summary decision of the licensing subcommittee, otherwise known as the committee, on the 10th of December 2025. In relation to the White Horse, 1 to 3 Parsons Green, London, SW6 4UL, otherwise known as the premises. So the committee has considered an application for a new premises license for the following licensable activities: the sale of alcohol on and off the premises, the playing of recorded music indoors only, and late night refreshment indoors and outdoors under the Licensing Act 2003, otherwise known as the application. In summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all of the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, to grant the application as follows. Number 1, the sale of alcohol on and off the premises, Sunday to Thursday, 11 till midnight, Friday to Saturday, 11 till half past midnight. The playing of recorded music indoors only, Sunday to Thursday, 8 a.m. till half past midnight, and Friday and Saturday, 8 a.m. till 1 a.m. Late night refreshments indoors and outdoors, Sunday to Thursday, 11 till midnight, and Friday to Saturday, 11 till half past midnight. The opening hours of the premises are as follows: Sunday to Thursday, 8 a.m. till half past midnight, and Fridays and Saturdays, 8 a.m. till 1 a.m. The license is subject to any mandatory conditions. The license is subject to the conditions proposed by the applicant as amended by the committee. The license is subject to the conditions proposed by the police and agreed by the applicant. And the license becomes operational with immediate effect. If problems are experienced, then an application for review of the premises, a license can be made, and a copy of this committee's full decision, including its reasons and the full text of the conditions added to the license, will be sent to the parties forthwith. If the applicant or any other person who has made a relevant representation is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days from the date of the notification of the full decision, which is the decision of the licensing subcommittee on the 10th of December 2025, and a summary decision will be posted on the council's website tomorrow morning. Well, thank you very much, everyone, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Chair and councillors. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillor.
Chair, I'm just going to let the next slot in, if that's okay with you.
Yep, that's fine by me. I think we still have Charlotte in the room.
Charlotte, I can't. Oh yes. Just Charlotte, can you just remove yourself, please? Or I'll try and. Chair, we've got everyone in the room now.
Thank you. Are we good to start?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Can I just say something before we start?
Yes.
I'll say this again, councillor, but there's been a problem with the appendices. They've not been labelled on the top right-hand corner. So I'll just mention that in the report. For some reason, the appendices label has just evaporated off the page. So I don't know why, but I'll mention it again at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Well, welcome to tonight's licensing subcommittee. My name is Councillor Callum Nimmo, and I will be chairing tonight's meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live on the council's YouTube channel. If I lose connection and can't reconnect, Councillor Borakwan will take over from me. I'd like to remind participants of a few housekeeping points. Please keep your microphone muted unless you are speaking. Please keep your camera turned on when you speak at the hearing. And please note that the chat function has been disabled. And I also ask that members keep their questions and comments brief and to the point. So now move to item number 1 on the agenda, which is apologies for absence, of which we have done. Item number 2, declarations of interest. So do members have declarations of interest?
No, Chair.
Not from me.
No. Lovely, thank you very much. So moving to item number 3, which is Retail 24 at 70 Uxbridge Road, London, W12 8LP. So I would like to ask everyone participating to introduce yourself as I call on you. So we should have with us Bill Massini from Trading Standards.
That's myself. I'm actually doing it on behalf of the licensing team, as in the licensing responsible authority role, not Trading Standards, just to clarify.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much for clarifying. We have with us Neil Gardner, who's the interim licensing officer.
Good evening, Chair. Present. Thank you.
Excellent. And Gerta Kodilash, who is the legal advisor.
Good evening, Chair. Thank you.
Excellent. And so we also have with us the licensee, which is Kamran Raza, who's the premise license holder.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you very much. And we also have with us John Payne, who is a solicitor and an agent for the premises license holder.
Yes, good evening.
Thank you. So before we consider the application today, may I confirm that in addition to the main agenda, supplementary agenda A and C were published on the 8th and 10th of December, respectively. So I will quickly explain the procedure the committee will follow. So we will hear from the following. The licensing officer will introduce the application. The applicant will present the grounds for the review. Then this says that there's a resident supporting the review, but I don't think there's a resident supporting the review present. And finally, we'll hear from the premises license holders' representatives. So usually each party will address the committee for a maximum of 5 minutes. And following the presentation by all parties, the committee may ask questions of any party or other person present at the hearing. Except committee members, no party has the right to ask questions of any other party at any time during the hearing. And following the presentation and questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their case or representation, and following which the committee will retire for deliberations, and upon its return, I will announce the committee's decision. So just remind you, please do keep your remarks as concise as possible. So firstly, please may I ask the licensing officer, Neil Gardner, to introduce the application.
Thank you, Chair. Just before I introduce the application, can I just mention 2 points that have come to my attention this afternoon? Unfortunately, the appendices are not labelled. I don't know why they're not labelled. There's no explanation for it, and I do regret if that's caused any confusion. And the second point is at 4.1 on the report, there are 2 individual representatives opposing the review. So that should be 2, not 1. I'll just clarify that with everybody. Can I carry on, Chair? Is there any questions?
Yeah, please carry on.
On the 26th of September 25, an application for review of a premise licence under Section 51 of the Licensing Act 2003 was served by Fulham's Trading Standards team. The review application was made in respect of Retail 24, 70 Uxbridge Road, London, WS12 8LP, held by Mr. Kamran Raza. The application for review can be seen at Appendix 1, which is at pages 66 to 102. A further letter was sent to the premise licence holder on the 8th of October 25, citing the reasons for extending the consultation period slightly, and this can be found at Appendix 2, which is page 103. Current premise licence detailing the licensable activities can be seen at Appendix 3, which is page 104 to page 111. A map showing the location of the premises and neighbouring licensed premises can be found in Appendix 4, which is pages 112 to 118. During the consultation period, the licensing authority received 2 individual representations supporting the review, which is Appendix 5, pages 120 to 122. 2 individual representations opposing the review, also Appendix 5, pages 123 to 124. And 1 police representation in support of the review, which is Appendix 6, page 125. Trading Standards Officer Bill Mancini provided a further statement found at Supplementary Agenda A, which is page 25. The premise licence holder's solicitor provided an information bundle, and this can be found at Supplementary Agenda Item C. In determining this application, the subcommittee must have regard to the representations and take such of the following steps as it considers necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives. And Chair, the steps available to you tonight are to take no further action, modify the conditions of the licence, exclude a licensable activity from the scope of the licence, remove the designated premises supervisor, suspend the licence for a period not exceeding 3 months, or to revoke the premise licence. Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Neil. And I'd like to move to the applicant. That's Bill Massini, who is speaking on behalf of the licensing authority, if I understood that correctly earlier. So, Mr. Massini, you have up to 5 minutes to address the committee.
Thank you. Yes, just to clarify, the work that's been carried out has been in my role as a licensing enforcement officer, not as a trading standards officer. Quite a detailed application, and so in view of the short period of time, I should try to skip through parts on the basis that everyone will have read the papers. I refer first of all to the previous review, which is important here because what we're saying is that the conditions that were put on the previous hearing were breached, and that review was in 2019. The licensing team got involved with this matter following concerns from the general public and also from its own observations of behaviour and things that were occurring in Uxbridge Road, specifically in Shepherd's Bush Green, and complaints that were being made, and they've been detailed on page 73. An example has been included at page 73 of your papers. Timeline of events was that on 23rd of May, a visit was made to the premises first of all, and that was in the morning, and that having noted that the licensable activities didn't start until 11, a question mark was posed to us, the officer, when he visited, that the shutters were up and alcohol appeared to be for sale. Test purchase was made at 10:42 a.m, some 17 minutes before the licensing, the permitted licensing hours started, and that's detailed on page 73 of your papers. Particular sale disclosed 5 breaches of licensing conditions, and they've been detailed on page 74. The officer tried to carry out a full inspection and was unable to do so because the premise license holder was not available, and the only member of staff who was not personal license holder at the time, as required by license, was unable to show him CCTV. Again, that is a condition of license under condition 9. Other breaches were found at the premises, and they've been detailed at pages 75. Go through issues about strong beer above 5.5%, which is condition 11. That was also breached with drinks above 5.5%, again detailed on page 75 of your papers. The officer was unable to inspect a refusals book. The worker said that was locked and he was unable to access it. No training records were available. Again, various breaches have been detailed there. Inspection report was left, and Mr. Raza, the premise license holder, was spoken to on the 9th of June. That's covered on page 76 of your papers. Test purchase was carried out on Friday, 1:27 hours, where alcohol was sold again, where the cut-off terminal hour is 1 a.m. Of note was that another person in front of the test purchaser who was heavily and clearly intoxicated purchased vodka, and she was seen drinking later on Shepherd's Bush Green. Again, that's detailed on page 76. Various breaches again as a result of that test purchase. Further test purchase carried out on the 17th of June at 1:32 hours. Same thing again. No person license holder, outside hours, shutters not closed, etc. Another test purchase, a inspection was carried out on the 19th of June with Mr. Raz present, and that was by arrangement. And he was able to show us training records, and he showed a refusals book. The CCTV was checked, clock was out on it by 48 minutes, but it was only recording for just less than 13 days, when it's minimum of 31 days. That's on page 77 of your papers. Again,
sorry, Mr. Massini, I'm afraid that's 5 minutes up. I'm going to have to stop you there, but we'll come back to some things in questioning, no doubt. But in the interest of moving on, I think I have to cut you short there. So I would like to now turn to the premises license holder. Mr. Payne, you have up to 5 minutes to address the committee. Thank you.
Chair, I will do what I can in the time available. I'm conscious that we've had Mr. Massini's statement last week, and so I've had no time to prepare a statement in response to it, but I'll go through as best I can in the time available. You've seen the pack that's been provided by us in relation to what's being alleged, and I'll hand over to Mr. Raza just to finish the time. But if I could just run through that very quickly to explain what's being shown on the images and in the pack. So on page 4 of the pack, which is essentially the first page of it, you see the display. It's on the left hand side, just separating the till and the service area from the external of the premises. The page 5, you'll see the right hand side, but the most important photographs I would suggest are those that are shown on page 6, which show the view into the premises and all the way down through the premises. The reason I say that is because quite clearly the purpose of the conditions that have been highlighted about display of notices and keeping the windows clear is rather circumvented by the fact there is a clear view into the premises. Now, there's a number of allegations that have been made about the products that are being sold, and I'll let Mr. Raza explain a little bit about the strength of alcohol that's being sold at the premises. We will take the point very much on the chin that quite clearly there have been some breaches of the licence conditions here, but those are not due to the fault of the management of the premises. That's actually down to individuals and the way that they have operated within the premises. One of the first points is in relation to the labelling of products. You'll see page 7 is probably the clearest of the images that shows very clearly a little sticker on all of those products that they are being sold by Retail 24. That was one of the things that was complained of. Obviously very important to identify where products have come from if they're found outside. And we've heard nothing about products from Retail 24 being found scattered around the area. the images on page 10 and onwards, let me explain those because those do take a little bit of explaining. When this was put to me about the shutters being closed and trading beyond hours, what I did is I gave Mr. Raza a number of dates, and I asked him to provide me with the images from the CCTV system to show when those shutters were closed down. And the images that you've got there, the timestamp doesn't come out very well, show on those random days that Mr. Raza didn't know in advance the shutters being closed before trading time was concluded. Now that's rather supplemented by, if you carry on down the pack to page 20, a check that's being carried out to make sure that every time the shutters are opened and closed, that is recorded in a log. So staff are required to do that. Now, there is a question about training of staff, and quite clearly some staff didn't know what the conditions of the licence were, and that has caused some breaches to occur. But Mr. Raza has dealt with that by means of putting staff through additional training and particular training courses. And you'll see on page 15 onwards certificates that have been produced from Trading Standards Southwest. Now, if you're not familiar with Trading Standards Southwest, they run a course called NAPOANS, which is a Trading Standards approved training course, an online course for staff involved in the sale of retail of age-restricted goods, and you'll see the staff. Yes, indeed. I think it's probably helpful just to look through those to show that there is a refusals book that is being kept up, and that things are being complied with in that. Now, Mr. Raza, I don't know if you would like just have 1 minute or the last 30 seconds to explain anything about the allegations that have been put to you.
Thank you for letting me speak, Payne. Look, I'll be very quick since we have a very short time. Chair and the committee, I would like to say, look, I understand there has been some issues, but I can tell you here today that we've dealt with them. And we've dealt with them not just with a lighter note, but we've dealt them with very strict notice. And we have put reverse systems in place where there won't be any future issues within the premises, and I allow you to give us one more chance to make it right. You got to understand this is my bread and butter, and we have put systems in place that are working now, and I can assure you there were people today from the local authority who were doing the checks within the store today. And I don't know whether they've given you the feedback or to the licensing authority to provide it or present it with you. But it was certainly notified to us that they attended on behalf of the council.
Thank you, Mr. Raza. I'm afraid that's time as well. So I would like to now turn to committee questions. I'm sure we'll have the chance to dig in some more of these things now, but can I ask each committee member to ask questions of any party about the application and issues that have been raised at the hearing in relation to the 4 licensing objectives, which, to remind us, is number 1, the prevention of crime and disorder, number 2, public safety, number 3, the prevention of public nuisance, and number 4, the protection of children from harm. So do committee members have questions?
Chair, I can start with one. I'll probably want to come back because there's a lot of things to sort of consider. Can the either Mr. Raza or Mr. Payne explain how so one of the issues with this situation is we've got a history of violations and conditions not being met dating back to 2019, which is obviously why some of these inspections and were being sort of were done and being monitored. What wasn't addressed, that the initial 2019 conditions weren't fully addressed between now and recent times in the past year?
Sorry, I'm not quite clear on what the question actually is. So could you say that again?
So there's a history of violations at this business, which obviously, if you know, there was an opportunity in 2019 when these cropped up for systems to be put in place for the license holder to meet the meet the objectives. But these recent inspections obviously show that that's failed, and there's been other sort of dates in between. So I guess why weren't they rectified when things cropped up in 2019? Why are we 6 years later still sort of looking at a business with these violations?
I think that's precisely the point. We're now 6 years on, and these issues are relating to this year, 5 or 6 years beyond that review. Now, the premises have traded, and they have traded successfully over that period. It's only of relatively recent times, I would suggest, that these problems have occurred, and they have occurred primarily because of issues of staff unfamiliarity with license conditions and the requirements that are upon them. That has been addressed in the past. It has been addressed now by Mr. Raza, so that staff are familiar with the license conditions and they're familiar with the requirements of the Licensing Act. So I think it would be wrong to say that there has been a continual problem since 2019. That's not true. There has been a resolve of the issues back in 2019, and there has been perhaps a slight slip with members of staff, which has now been corrected.
Okay. My second question would be then following on from that, there was inadequate staff training. Was there any staff training that was going on prior to these incidents coming to light? I'm talking about the recent 2025 inspections and incidents.
Well, there was staff training, and that's actually evidenced in the officer's report from the meeting that I think happened on the 18th of August, that there were staff training records. Now, whether that staff training went far enough is another matter, but there was training going on, and the point is that that has now been amplified with Mr. Raza having taken some further advice and bringing in Trading Standards Southwest to implement their package on top of the BII and other packages that were in place.
So prior to the October Trading Standards Southwest courses taken, the staff hadn't attended any kind of comparable training course.
No, I understand that they'd done BII training.
Okay. Do we have sort of documentation for that, dates and so on?
Yes, I'm just looking at the supplementary pack, which has got some details of BII. Sorry, I need to scan through it. You'll see on page 19 the training that was updated then. That's from October. And you've got a BII certificate from the 14th of October 2016 on page 18. That shows that there was training going on beyond the recent training as well. And we could provide you with all of the training certificates if you wanted them, but obviously we are trying to give you the most up-to-date position to show you where we are now rather than where we've been over the last 5 years.
Okay, Chair, I will pass over to another member to ask questions for now. I will indicate if I have any other follow-up questions.
Yeah, I absolutely have a sort of quick, well, maybe not to answer, but to Mr. Messinians, again, apologies for cutting you off earlier. Something that Mr. Raza said earlier is sort of, give us another chance. I mean, I just want to look back to this 2019 review. I was just wondering if you could maybe provide a bit more of the context, because we often hear this as, from as a committee, sort of give us, a chance to show we've changed, but it seems like that chance was given in 2019, yet we find ourselves in this situation here tonight. I was just wondering if you might be able to speak a bit more about the review that happened in 2019.
My understanding of the 2019, which was the police review, was to do with the crime that and public nuisance that's taken place in Shepherd's Bush Green, and that they had negotiated with Mr. Raza about having shutters. He had agreed to those 3 conditions. What he hadn't agreed to was the police seeking to have the hours reduced to 11 p.m. The committee were satisfied. I can't comment on the whys and wherefores of it, but they were satisfied that they thought those 3 conditions, which were added in 2019, were sufficient, and I detailed those at the beginning of my review. Why we're here today is because no notice has been taken of that, and that the test purchasing that's been carried out is indicative of that. It is consistent. It is repeated behaviour that's taken place, and that because the shop is open 24 hours a day, that is part of the problem, because the shop is never closed, and unless people such as ourselves are visiting at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, we cannot be confident that that's been complied with. And that it wasn't done on 1 occasion, it wasn't done on 2 occasions, it's done on more than those occasions. And we say that in combination with everything else that's gone on, and in addition to the statement that was served later, when I served the reviewed documentation as to precisely why members of the public were concerned about the behaviour that was occurring. It's unfortunate that I wasn't able to give a full details of what's been found, and you can see that the level and detail in that review shows the extent to what's gone on. And even serving the review papers after the formal interview a month earlier, there was still a number of breaches taking place at the day that the review paper was served. So, you know, you can be told things that have improved, but the evidence suggests otherwise.
Yes, thank you. And I guess, I mean, you know, and from a technical point of view, we heard that sort of, you know, and to quote Mr. Payne earlier, this is down to individuals, not the management, but there was a condition vis-a-vis having the designated license holder on the premises at all times when alcohol was being sold.
What all alcohol has to be authorised by a personal licence holder. That's the fundamental point. But some licences, and this licence has on it an extra condition which says a personal licence holder has to be on at all times. So that one of those 2 people, or whoever's working in the shop, has to have been formally trained. Now, the training that's been given and that's been referred to you today is not personal licence qualification. These people could have gone on to get a personal licence and they haven't. And that they could have gone to their local authority and obtained a personal licence, and that issue would have been satisfied, but they haven't because it costs them money. And then people who get a personal licence go elsewhere. The point that we're saying is that it's Mr. Raza cannot be there all the time. That's appreciated that, but he has the facilities to carry out due diligence by checking till rolls for times and details on receipts. The receipts that were supplied when test purchases were carried out has the name of the person selling, if they've logged on correctly, the time and the product. Had Mr. Raza looked at, scanned through the till roll or even the CCTV, he'd have seen what's going on, but he didn't. He's taken no steps to actually, he can remotely monitor what's going on, and he hasn't done so. And it's only the persistence of officers that have highlighted the problem before you today. We cannot monitor the number of business that we have in the borough and the number of staff. We cannot monitor businesses like this, and we cannot have we do not have the confidence in a difficult area that things will improve whilst Mr. Raza was in charge of this business.
Interesting. So, I mean, I guess my next question, either to Mr. Payne or Mr. Raza, is we heard that, you know, one of the conditions that we have to have a personal license holder on site at all time when alcohol is being sold. So in addition to you, Mr. Raza, how many other members of staff have personal licenses who work at the business? I believe you're on mute. I'm afraid you're still on mute.
Yeah, I can probably answer that for you. There's one other personal license holder as well.
So there are 3 personal license holder. Myself, we've taken on another Saeed Bukhari, who's a personal license holder, and my brother. So there's 3 personal license holders on the premises now. Chair, if you would like, I can reply back to Mr. Masoney's points if you want to hear.
In brief.
Yeah. Look, the addressing Councillor Borrow's comments earlier on, I mean, obviously we're talking about 2019 when policing did a review of the license. This was purely in relation to what was going on within the Uxbridge, nothing to do with my premises. It was the antisocial behaviour within the bar, within the Green, and then the violence that was going on within the McDonald and all those issues that were going on then. And then obviously policing started to license all the, not just my premises alone, it was every license. I mean, Londis next to me was reviewed, Nisa Local down the road was reviewed. So it was just not individual my premises that was reviewed at the time in 2019. Don't hold me out that I'm the only one that was the bad one. Police was doing review left, right and center, just trying to get everybody to close down. Now talking about me being, or our store being open 24 hours, an incident happened on the 3rd of December this month at 2 o'clock in the morning within our store. I can give you the card number, which is 0372. 8 police officers were called and 2 ambulances were attended. The reason why was a vulnerable person walked into our store who was obviously had some sort of a substance within his body, who came into the store and wanted to find some safe place. And had our stores not been opened and not provided him with the facility or the medication or the first attendance of care, I don't know what would have happened to this person. Yeah, we were open. We facilitated the person by calling 999, calling police, calling ambulance. Our store was closed for 2 hours while this took place, and the person was taken away. And this is all on record with the police, CAD 0372. By all means, check it up. Having a 24-hour store doesn't mean that we are not helping the local community, as rightly if somebody's put it in the representation. Now, going back to Mr. Masoney's point that I or me have not put in the place the right system or training these up, or we have been I've showed negligence in training my staff. No, we don't. I mean, we put every effort into it within our staff and train them to make sure that they do the compliance. But I can't be with the individual. I know that there has been lacking, and I am admitting it, and I am telling you that we have rectified it and we have fixed the issues. Now, if you want to put the other issues onto us, by all means, I'm not here to discuss it, but that's for the local authority to do it in their way.
Okay. Thank you for responding to those points. Councillor Stanton.
Thank you, Chair. Without jumping in, could I just ask a quick follow-up to the response that Mr. Raz has just given? Yeah, Mr. Raz, you just said that you have rectified the problems. Could you expand exactly how you have done that, please?
So the very first person, when Mr. Masoney attended, 17 minutes before the licensing opening hours, he was served alcohol by this person. This person has been sacked. Mr. Hidayat Azam, he was an old person, worked for me with I think he worked with me almost 8 years. But I think he was getting to the age where I needed to obviously, where I was finding him, he's not up to, you know, to the mark that I would want to have him. It's not something that I enjoy doing, sacking somebody or not having him to work with us. I think, but the age does take a toll on somebody. And then I had to lay that person off. he lives local, so he was helping me and I was hiring him. Maybe that was not the case. So I have sacked him. So I've got some young persons to work with me who are more robust and active. In addition to that, we have strictly, obviously, put in place that the system that whenever the shutter goes up, you must sign it and time it. And when the shutter goes down, you must time it and sign it. So that's one of the procedures that we have been put in place to make sure that the alcohols are only sold within the time frame. And if you look at our date sheet, some of the times when staff is working or there's a delivery that they're dealing with, I mean, the alcohol is not even sold till 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, which is okay. I mean, obviously, if there is no customers asking for it, we're not going to put it on display for sale.
Thank you. Sorry, back to you, Chair. Sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, that's quite right. I mean, picking something up also in Mr. Massini's witness statement, which was published subsequently to the reports pack. I mean, I pick up I accept Mr. Razza's what he said about the recent incident, but there's described, of in here about sort of youths inside, or youths or people inside the shop, smelling of cannabis and not doing much in relation to it. I mean, I just want to ask Mr. Raz, were you on site then? What sort of staff training has taken place in such situations?
John, do you want to take this up or shall I answer?
That's fine. You can carry on. That's fine.
Okay. So, well, smoking within the public space is banned. We have strict policy to that too. Mr. Masony, if he has spotted somebody smoking something within the store, I think he represents local authority. He should have pointed it out to us. He should have pointed it out to the staff that I can see somebody smoking. Could you ask him to go out of the store? I don't know. Mr. Masony can tell that whether he did that. And the other thing is, obviously, look, the green is it's a ban zone. You cannot drink on the green. Okay. I can take you back to the bundle copy, and if you look at my premises within the I can't, there's no page number, but if you look at the front of our shop where the aluminium is and then the footpath starts. So in the summer of this year, I think we made over 50 calls to police asking them to attend the store because we've got to issue people with loitering outside our store. I don't enjoy it. It's not good for my business. Okay. Out of those 50 calls, police only attended about 3 times. Okay. On one of the occasion, I think they attended the next day because they just didn't had time to attend. Why were we calling them? Because we don't enjoy people standing outside our store. But the trouble part for me is as soon as somebody steps over that mark and he's on a public footpath, I have no control over them. Because I have approached a number of times to these people who are standing on the street outside my store. And I tell them, look, can you guys get along to go wherever you're going? This is, you shouldn't be standing outside my store. It doesn't serve me well. And they're like, I mean, obviously I can't say it here openly, the response that I get from these individuals, because obviously I don't own the footpath.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Razza. Mr. Massini, did you want to come in there about specifically the supplementary witness statement you provided as well? I'm afraid you're on mute.
My apologies. Yes, I do. The mention about smoking, they weren't just smoking, they were smoking cannabis in the shop. The whole shop stank of cannabis. And that no attempts were made to remove those people from the shop. The reason why I was waiting was because I was told that Mr. Razza had popped out for some food, because the purpose of dropping off the review document at that time was to see whether, because when Mr. Razza was interviewed, he said there was 2 personal license holders, him and his brother. Bear in mind, the shop is able to sell alcohol for for 100 hours a week, and that previous test purchases indicated that nobody had held a personal license who was working when those test purchases were done, it was highly probable that on the 24th of September, when that review was served, that there again would be no personal license holder. But what was seen was a catalogue of antisocial behaviour and criminality in the shop. Nobody, no reasonable person would have wanted to walk into that shop at 11 o'clock at night who was sober.
And I mean, at this time, presumably, it seems, you know, what Mr. Raza told us earlier seems to contradict some of the information in the bundle, which says there's 2 personal licenses. But even then, we can presume that in addition to Mr. Raza, there should have been another personal license holder on site as well.
There should have been another personal license holder there, but it was about the behaviour that was going on. That it was exactly the behaviour that members of the public had complained about was witnessed. There was people, and that people were buying plastic cups to drink alcohol outside the fronts. When I challenged the man who was in the shop about not selling it, he said it was none of my business, and he carried on making the sale. And then as I left the shop, they'd poured out the alcohol they'd previously bought and were drinking it out on the street by the shop front door. As far as I'm concerned, that's unacceptable.
And I mean, yes, and it seems like, you know, we can talk about Mr. Payne said earlier, you know, there's technical things about the licenses that not all people or employees might be aware of. But to me, it seems very straightforward. And Mr. Raza said he engaged with the police earlier. It seems to be very straightforward if someone is consuming drugs inside your shop. Regardless of whether you have a personal license or not,
they made no attempt to actually ask those people to leave. They were actually having a conversation between them and the shopkeep workers when I went in the shop. I said, you need to intervene to do something about this. And reluctantly, they pushed them to the front shop door and then said it wasn't their responsibility. But one then came back in, purchased they haven't purchased alcohol earlier, then bought 4 plastic cups, the type of plastic cups you have in a drinks dispenser. We're drinking it outside by the front door. Promotion of prevention of crime and disorder includes things like that. Not selling cups, knowing that they're going to be used to sell alcohol, and they completely ignored everything I said.
And I guess, just very briefly, Mr. Raza, before I turn to some colleagues, on the date of this, 24th September, one of your colleagues said you just popped out for food. Can you confirm whether you were on site, or was that a misunderstanding, or what were you there essentially?
I was working on that day. I'd just like to add to Mr. Masoney's point. He said these people were drinking outside on the no drinking zone. Did Mr. Masoney actually reported these individuals to the local authority or to the authority that should take an action on this?
I am the local authority in that situation.
So did you take an action?
Well, I don't think that's relevant. We're talking about your premise license review.
Okay, well,
I sought to take action to prevent people from your shop from selling those items to them, so that they couldn't drink from the alcohol out the front of the shop. Well, it's your responsibility.
This isn't a discussion between 2 parties, but I think that's hurdle I need you for the time being on that point. Do any of the other members wish to come in? Councillor Stanton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everybody. I don't have many questions. I do. One thing I think I heard correctly, Mr. Payne, I think, said it, or Mr. Raza, that there was a council inspection today. Did I hear that correctly? Mr. Raza, you're muted.
Mr. Raza said that.
I mentioned that.
Okay, so Mr. Massini, do you can you comment on this?
I know nothing about it.
Okay, so
Nobody's told me about it.
Yeah, okay, so it is. I believe you're the only person representing the licensing authority. Mr. Gardner, do you know anything about this?
Sorry, Councillor, that's not been reported to me either.
I mean, who would know?
At this time of night, I wouldn't be able to ask, but I could possibly ask our enforcement team at a later stage.
Oh well, if you don't know today,
I can't imagine. I can't imagine that the council will be carrying out inspection the very day of a licensing hearing.
I mean, I would like to think they might have been, but I also like to think that they would have been reporting on it.
Exactly.
You would think that the officers would identify themselves, or at least the department that they're represented.
Mr. Raza, can you help us with this? You're muted. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Now, yes.
Yeah. So basically, around 2 o'clock, we had somebody coming in from the local food and hygiene standards. So basically, this lady, I think it's upstairs. The sheet is upstairs. I can grab it if you can give me 2 minutes. So she was following this individual who was coming into going around stores to buy tobacco, or who looked, I mean, obviously who was underage. So he came into the store as well asking for tobacco. And then she mentioned it that I was actually checking this person out while he was doing or trying to make the purchase.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I don't know your story.
Whether that was individual from the licensing, that lady, she was definitely from the food standards.
I find that completely bizarre. And food hygiene is nothing to do with licensing or trading standards.
Well, in which case,
what I was told.
In which case, it's not licensing, it's not trading standards. Let's move on then. Thank you, Mr. Raza. So you, if I understand it correctly, you purchased the store in 2014. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And do you have a history of owning this type of establishment? Do you own any other shops as well, or is this the only one that you own?
So this is the one that I own. So when I bought this shop in 2014, it had an issue of licensing anyways. The people mentioned who owned this store still have their names on the licensing conditions. That's how old the licensing conditions are attached to this license. I certainly believe it's my opinion that they need to be moderated to today's issues. So they had issues. Their license was being revoked, and
I'm not. So if I can stop you, I'm asking about yourself. What
bought
your history is of owning and running licensed establishments.
This is my store, sir. So I've been running it since 2014.
Okay, excellent. And this is the only one that you run. This one. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. And how much time do you spend on an average week actually in the shop yourself?
I'm here 6 days a week, or sometimes 7.
From what sort of time?
Well, I come in early morning. I'm here by 9 o'clock, and I leave around 6. But here I am today at 8:30.
As are we. As are we. Excellent. Yes, thank you. So who produces the signage for the shop?
Sorry,
like the internal labelling.
The staff and everybody does it. So
staff. Okay. And who does the purchasing for the shop?
So it's the store manager and myself. We both do it together.
Okay, you do it together. Okay, excellent. In which case, can you explain to me how you were purchasing beer that was above 5.5% ABV?
So there was a issue, I think, with the Guinness. There's a Guinness can, and then there was a Guinness bottle. So I think there was a confusion line with the Guinness bottle is, I think, over the strength that went wrong in compared to the Guinness can, which is below the strength.
Okay, so looking at the report here on page 78, it refers to Aspel Imperial and Henry Western Cider, both 8.2% ABV. Now, looking at the very helpful information that you have provided in the supplemental agenda, all of the ABVs are actually listed that I can see
in the receipts.
Yeah.
So can you explain? I mean, 8.2 isn't a tiny bit above 5.5, and I'm not a great, it is cider, isn't it? I'm not a great cider drinker, but even I know that Aspel's very strong.
Aspel is a premier cider, so we don't really. I mean, so it's not that we buy it online. We actually go to the store, to the cash and carry Best Way, where we buy this, or Hasty and Co. Generally, when you're picking them up, obviously you need to make sure that they're below 5.5.
It was 8.2.
Yeah, I understand, sir.
So I'm asking, how did that happen?
It was a mistake that happened.
Okay. Thank you. Just maybe you can help me with this. Just while others were talking, because I wasn't, I hadn't come across the NPOAA. I'm sorry, I'm looking up the page now. We have a lot of papers today. Bear with me 1 second. Where is it? Is it NPOAN?
NPONs.
Yeah, that's the one. Well, I looked it up, and that appears to be NPONs. There we go. Yes, thank you. NPOANS. And that appears to be primarily relating to proof of age, as in proof of age checking. And that, from what I can see from the papers, unless I've missed it, isn't something that has been an issue. So presumably the course has actually done its job. But a lot of the issues that have been experienced within the shop have been related to other licensing issues, such as time of opening, the strength issue that we've just been relating to, dealing with difficult customers. So can you explain to me how that kind of training is taken care of? Because let's say just a cursory glance at the NPONs course, that's not what that is addressing.
So the NPON is obviously addressing the legality of, I mean, obviously every license is different. They have different conditions on them, and the conditions that we have on our license are being obviously instilled into our staff by ourselves. I mean, that can't be done by NPON because they don't know what our license conditions are.
Yeah, sorry, just Mr. Payne was saying that a lot of the issues had been resolved by this upgraded training that you've been taking, and I was just trying to see what the relevance of it actually had been.
So are you asking me or Mr. Payne?
I mean, I was asking you if Mr. Payne would like to answer. I'd be more than
no.
Well,
So
indeed, I'll just jump in to say that it's part of a package that's been put forward to try and improve the training and the professionalism of staff. It is not, Napoleon's by itself is not the be-all and end-all. I agree with that 100%. That can only be effective if it's complemented, as Mr. Raza has said, with in-house training about the conditions and the requirements on that specific license.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I have a question. I don't know quite how to phrase it. So it's to Mr. Raza, which is this. There was a licensing review in 2019. There appears to have been a period during which there were no reported breaches, and then there has been a period where there have been reported breaches. You've shown us some, very positive photographic evidence from the last month or so. What guarantees can you give us that that's going to continue, and that if we grant, or rather we don't do anything to your license today, that we won't come back in a year's time with a string of breaches reported by trading standards in the next 3 or 4 months, or year and a half, or whatever the period might be?
Sorry, you're a councillor?
I am a councillor, yes.
So, councillor.
Oh, yes, I haven't changed my name. Apologies.
That's okay. So, look, I can tell you today, and I can tell you in the future as well. I cannot say for the definitive, but we have put a lot of time and effort into individuals. I have understand that obviously every individual that joins us now must be not just trained the way that we were being trained before, or which, you know, we had this pack where we go through the questions, tell them the conditions. But I think we got to do the reinforcement. So we got to keep reinforcing our conditions and memorizing them. So before, it was a matter that we used to obviously train them and then let it go for a year. So the way we are going to do it now, that is, we are going to do it more periodically. So we keep questioning our staff about our conditions, obviously me taking more robust system action, and obviously going into them. And I mean, just the way today, the incident that I was referring to, obviously it was just the hygiene standards, but then I walked in and I said, what exactly happened? And then they're like, oh, so while we were there, so this person came in, and then obviously, you know, we had that lengthy discussion, and then obviously we keep discussing it. So it wasn't just letting go of the matter. So it's more periodic, in, you know, talk about our conditions to make sure that they always stay on top of it. This is how I am going to make sure that we beat this, and, you know, and we comply with what we are supposed to be complied with.
Okay, thank you very much. That's been very helpful. Chair, I don't think I have any further questions. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Stanton. Unless Councillor, I don't have any further questions. Just Councillor Kwan. No. So I think with that, I think we'll head to summing up. Please can the party sum up in 3 minutes or less in the following order. So first of all, the licensing officer, Neil Gardiner.
Thank you, Chair. I have nothing to summarise.
Thank you, Neil. And next, can I ask Mr. Mancini to sum up in 3 minutes or less?
Thank you. Yes, you've heard a number of assurances given today. In 2025, those are the same assurances that were given in 2019, 6 years ago. The business hasn't been visited on a regular basis, simply on the basis of resources. And you'll recall from the papers that Mr. Raza recognised that in 2022, he was told about CCTV not having sufficient recording footage, and he did nothing about it. It's only because of repeated visits by the licensing in this year that things have, if at all, improved. He was interviewed under caution in August, and yet a month later, when the review papers were served, there was still criminal behaviour going on in that business, and nothing was done to deal with it. In fact, the officer, myself, was given the runaround that evening by staff and Mr. Raza's, what was said on behalf of Mr. Raza, as in that he would just popped out, which he never returned whilst I was there. There's a whole string of conditions that have been breached. Those conditions are on for a reason. The general public have been concerned about the antisocial behaviour and criminality and feeling unsafe. And having experienced what I experienced, I completely understand why they're saying what they're saying. And this is an opportunity for the council to through yourselves, to use the legislation that you have to actually stop this premise from causing problems for residents generally, and criminality that takes place in a busy area by revoking the licence today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini. And lastly, please may I ask the licensee, so Mr. Raza or Mr. Payne, to sum up in 3 minutes or less.
I will do my very best. Yes, Chair, you had it referred to you several times during the course of this hearing there was a review over 5 years ago, and the point of the fact is that that review was effective. It's not until now, we're 6 years on, that issues have been reported and addressed. And I'm conscious those reports and those things that have been brought to you are as the result of inspections. They're not as the result of a lot of evidence that's been presented to you, for instance, by the police, of lots of crime and activity happening in the area. You've got some comments from local residents, both for and against this particular premises. But there is not a litany of problems that are reported as crimes that you're being presented with. Chair, you will obviously, as an experienced councillor dealing with these matters, be aware of the need to act proportionally with what is presented to you. And I will give a case to your legal advisor, Eastside Cheese, Secretary of State for Health, which is a European case when Europe had any play in what we have to say in this country and our laws, which basically said that there was an importance of acting proportionally and taking the least onerous step. Well, in this application, I am not going to come to you and say, Chair, you should take no steps at all. Yes, you should take some steps, but those steps should be to add conditions on the licence. They proved effective before, they can prove effective again. The conditions that I would suggest that you should impose go to the heart of the issues, and that's relevant to 1120 of the Secretary of State's guidance, going to the causes of why this review has been brought. The conditions that I propose are these: that a personal licence holder or responsible alcohol retail course completer, certified person, must be in the licensed area while alcohol is sold. At the moment, there's only a requirement to be in the premises, so that can be downstairs. Personal license holder doesn't have to be in the alcohol sales area at all. I suggest that a personal license holder or someone who's completed the responsible alcohol retailing course, which I, in my view, and having dealt with licensing for more years than I care to mention, is much better than the personal license holder course, which frankly I don't rate at all. That gives you some assurance of somebody who knows what they're doing in the area. The second condition I propose is that the keys for the screens that we've heard about being up or down should be held by the personal license holder, and that those keys must only be used to unlock the screens while the personal license holder is in the premises. That will prevent alcohol sales from taking place unless the personal license holder is there, and make sure that sales only occur within the licensed hours. The third condition that I would suggest is that there is a requirement that the CCTV system, and this is a common one on some licenses, is checked prior to the premises opening each day to make sure that it is operating satisfactorily. That will deal with the issues that have been mentioned about the CCTV not being accurate. And the final one, which is to do with labelling, a relatively minor matter in what we've heard today, is that the labels indicating the origin of the premises should be marked on the bottles or cans before they are put out for display. At the moment, there's a requirement for the label to be on the moment those goods arrive in the premises, even if they're being delivered and sealed in a box. It is appropriate, in my submission, that they should be labelled before they are put on display, so you end up in the situation that we've got in the photographs shown. Now,
thank you, Mr. Payne.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, I wanted to hear the remaining conditions, but thank you for that. So with that heard, we're going to now retire to take our decision in a separate meeting room. You're welcome to remain in the meeting to hear the committee's decision. However, this may take some time. If you don't want to wait, a summary decision will be published on the council's website tomorrow morning. And can I now ask the councillors to turn off the video, mute the microphones, and join the private meeting for deliberations. Thank you. Okay, so the committee has decided the following. So in the London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham, this is the summary decision of the licensing subcommittee, otherwise known as the committee, on the 10th of December 2025 in relation to Retail 24, 70 Uxbridge Road, London, W12 8LP, otherwise known as the premises. So the committee has considered an application from the council's licensing authority for a review of a premises license under the Licensing Act 2003 on the grounds of prevention of crime disorder and the prevention of public nuisance, otherwise known as the application. In summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all of the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of the 4 license objectives, to revoke the license. A copy of this committee's full decision, including its reasons, will be sent to the parties forthwith. If any party is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days from the date of notification of the full decision. This is the decision of the Licensing Subcommittee on the 10th of December 2025.